Far out in the tempestuous North Atlantic, suspended between the ancient volcanic ridges of Iceland and the weathered fjords of Norway, lies an archipelago that appears to have emerged from the primordial mists of the planet's earliest days. These are the Faroe Islands, a scattered chain of 18 major islands and hundreds of smaller islets and sea stacks, forged by volcanic fire and sculpted by relentless oceanic forces over 60 million years. For centuries, these islands have remained shrouded in obscurity, their existence whispered only among the migratory seabirds that nest on their colossal cliffs and the marine life that navigates their perilous shores. On this January 18th, 2026, the Faroe Islands reveal themselves as a realm of elemental drama, where the interplay of light, weather, and geology creates a landscape of mythic grandeur and profound solitude. The first impression is one of raw, untamed nature, an environment where the land is in constant dialogue with the sea and sky. Sheer cliffs, among the highest in all of Europe, plummet hundreds of meters into the churning Atlantic, their faces etched with the scars of ancient lava flows and relentless erosion. Waterfalls, born from the island's ceaseless rainfall, tumble from emerald plateaus, their streams often seized by the wind and hurled skyward in a defiant ballet against gravity. There are no native trees to soften the contours. Instead, a dense, vibrant carpet of grass and moss clings to every available surface, painting the landscape in shifting shades of green and gold. The geology here is a living chronicle, each basalt layer and weathered outcrop telling a story of cataclysmic eruptions, glacial sculpting, and the slow, inexorable work of wind and water. To truly understand these islands is to witness the elemental power that has shaped them: volcanic fire, glacial ice, and the ceaseless assault of wind and wave. The surrounding sea is not merely a boundary, but the very lifeblood of the archipelago, its nutrient-rich currents sustaining a remarkable diversity of marine life, from vast kelp forests to colonies of seals and countless seabirds. The weather is a force of nature unto itself, capricious and dramatic, capable of transforming the landscape from radiant clarity to impenetrable fog within moments and back again. The wind, ever-present and unyielding, sculpts the land and shapes the very character of the islands, its voice a constant, haunting refrain echoing across the open moors and cliff-tops. Here, the boundaries between land and sea blur, each element inseparable from the other, forming a seamless tapestry of wild, unspoiled beauty. The story of the Faroe Islands is one of survival and adaptation, written not by human hands, but by the relentless forces of nature that preside over every stone and blade of grass. From the silent testimony of ancient stones to the ever-changing patterns of weather and light, to the teeming colonies of seabirds that find sanctuary on these remote cliffs, every aspect of existence here is woven into the fabric of the island's dramatic and ever-changing environment. In this hidden corner of the world, the Faroe Islands stand as a living testament to the enduring power of nature, a place where the ancient and the elemental converge in a spectacle of breathtaking realism, untouched and unseen by most, yet profoundly alive in every detail. The saga of the Faroe Islands is written in fire and stone, beginning not with the arrival of life, but with the raw, unyielding forces deep within the earth. Roughly 60 million years ago, the North Atlantic was a cauldron of tectonic unrest. The supercontinent Pangaea was fracturing, and the land that would become the Faroes was caught in the throes of continental drift. As the Eurasian and North American plates pulled apart, deep fissures opened in the Earth's crust. From these rifts, immense volumes of basaltic magma surged upward, erupting in relentless waves across the primordial landscape. These eruptions were not singular cataclysms, but a series of persistent outpourings. Over millions of years, lava spilled and cooled, each flow blanketing the last, gradually constructing a vast volcanic plateau. The result was a monumental stack of basalt, each layer a testament to a separate eruption. Some flows were thick and slow-moving, others thin and fast, creating a complex stratigraphy visible in the cliffs today. At its peak, this volcanic plateau stretched over 1,000 kilometers, dwarfing the present-day islands. It was a landscape dominated by blackened lava fields, cooling in the harsh winds of a young Atlantic. The cliffs of the Faroes are a living archive of this volcanic epoch. Each stratum records a distinct episode of eruption, cooling, and solidification, their patterns etched by time and elemental forces. Look closely at the sea cliffs, and you'll see horizontal bands of basalt, some rich in iron, others flecked with olivine or plagioclase crystals, each marking a unique pulse of volcanic activity. These bands are more than just rock. They are frozen moments in geological time, each one a separate lava flow, now solidified into a permanent geological record. The variation in thickness and composition of these layers reveals the changing nature of the eruptions, sometimes explosive, sometimes effusive, shaped by the chemistry of the magma and the pressure beneath the crust. As the lava cooled, it contracted and fractured, forming vertical columns in a process called columnar jointing. These hexagonal pillars are a hallmark of basaltic volcanism, their geometry dictated by the physics of cooling rock. The columns interlock like a natural mosaic, giving the cliffs their jagged, fortress-like appearance and remarkable structural strength, even as the Atlantic batters their base. Beneath the visible cliffs, the story continues in darkness. Subterranean layers of basalt, some hundreds of meters thick, extend deep below the islands, a hidden foundation sculpted by ancient fire. The immense weight of these accumulated lava flows pressed down on the Earth's crust, causing the land to slowly subside. This gradual sinking was counterbalanced by new eruptions, which built the plateau ever higher. Over time, the interplay of subsidence and volcanic buildup created a dynamic landscape, one that was constantly rising and falling, shaped by the relentless forces beneath. Today, the Faroe Islands are the eroded remnants of this once mighty plateau. What remains are the highest, most resilient peaks, sculpted by millions of years of wind, rain, and oceanic assault. The rocks themselves tell stories of their fiery origins. Vesicles, tiny gas bubbles trapped in cooling lava, dot the basalt, while mineral veins reveal the slow percolation of fluids through fractured stone. Though the volcanoes are long extinct, the land still whispers of its volcanic past. Subtle geothermal activity and mineral springs hint at the lingering heat deep below. The terrain itself is restless, shaped by ancient faults and fractures. Landslides and rockfalls continue to sculpt the landscape, a slow-motion echo of the violence that forged these islands. Later, the advance and retreat of glaciers during the ice ages carved deep fjords and valleys, but the core of the islands, their basalt bones, remains unchanged, a monument to their volcanic birth. The relentless Atlantic hammers the cliffs, exposing new layers and revealing the intricate architecture of ancient lava flows, each battered surface a testament to endurance. The Faroe Islands stand as a fortress of cooled magma, their stark beauty and dramatic forms shaped by the interplay of fire, water, and time, a living gallery of Earth's volcanic artistry. After the age of fire came the age of ice, a relentless epoch that would forever reshape the Faroe Islands. Over the last 2 million years, a succession of immense ice ages swept across the northern hemisphere, blanketing the Faroe Islands beneath vast, shifting glaciers. These glaciers, sometimes reaching up to 800 meters in thickness, smothered the volcanic plateaus and pressed into every crevice, their frozen mass dominating the landscape. The colossal weight of the ice acted as a sculptor's chisel, grinding, compressing, and reshaping the land beneath with slow, unyielding force. As the glaciers advanced, they abraded the basalt mountainsides, plucking boulders and gouging deep striations into the bedrock, leaving behind polished surfaces and scattered erratics, massive stones transported far from their origins. The dramatic topography of the Faroe Islands, its steep mountains, plunging valleys, and abrupt cliffs, owes its existence to this ancient glacial sculpting. The most striking evidence of glacial power lies in the island's U-shaped valleys, their broad, flat floors and steep walls a signature of ice rather than water. Unlike the narrow V-shaped valleys carved by rivers, glaciers bulldoze through the terrain, widening and deepening depressions to form amphitheatre-like cirques and expansive troughs. Within these glacial valleys, the land is cradled by towering walls, their sheer faces marked by ancient ice flow, and the valley floors often dotted with glacial lakes or marshes, remnants of meltwater trapped by natural moraines. These natural amphitheatres, carved by the rotational movement of glaciers, not only provide shelter from the Atlantic's fury, but also create unique microclimates and echo chambers where the sounds of wind and water are magnified. The immense weight of the ice sheets pressed the land downward, depressing the Earth's crust and creating deep basins that would later become fjords and inlets. As the last ice age waned, the glaciers retreated, leaving behind a landscape etched with moraines, drumlins, and kettle holes, each a silent record of the ice's passage. Freed from the crushing burden of ice, the land began to rise in a slow process called isostatic rebound, causing ancient shorelines to emerge and altering the contours of the coast. Simultaneously, the melting glaciers released vast quantities of water, raising global sea levels and flooding the lower reaches of the valleys, transforming them into deep fjords and narrow sounds. The interplay of rising land and encroaching sea sculpted the Faroe Islands into a fragmented archipelago, each island separated by glacially carved channels and submerged valleys. Glaciers also sharpened the mountain peaks and ridgelines, carving arêtes, narrow, knife-edged crests, and leaving behind pyramidal horns where several glaciers once converged. By eroding the softer, weathered rock and exposing the resilient basalt beneath, the glaciers revealed the island's volcanic origins in stark, angular relief. Nowhere is this more evident than on the islet of Tindhólmur, where 5 jagged summits rise like the teeth of a saw, each peak a monument to the erosive artistry of ice. Across the archipelago, cirques, hanging valleys, truncated spurs, and roches moutonnées, rock formations smoothed on one side and plucked on the other, stand as enduring evidence of glacial might. The Faroe Islands are a living gallery of glacial geomorphology, where every valley, fjord, and serrated peak tells the intricate story of a landscape carved by ice, shaped by time, and revealed in breathtaking detail. To live in the Faroe Islands is to exist in a perpetual conversation with the elements, where the weather is not merely a backdrop, but a force that shapes every aspect of life and landscape. Situated at the heart of the North Atlantic, the archipelago is a meeting point for powerful meteorological systems. Here, the climate is famously volatile, with rapid shifts that can transform the environment in moments. The collision of the warm Gulf Stream and frigid Arctic currents generates a dynamic atmospheric battleground. This interaction spawns frequent low-pressure systems, bringing sudden storms, heavy rainfall, and dramatic cloudscapes. The oceanic convergence fuels a relentless cycle of wind, rain, and fog. Rainfall is frequent and can arrive in intense bursts, often accompanied by gusty winds that sweep across the open sea and rugged cliffs. Yet, the weather is capricious. In a single day, sunlight may pierce through the clouds, illuminating emerald hills and painting rainbows across the valleys, only to be replaced moments later by a curtain of mist. Sea fog, known locally as mjörki, can descend without warning, shrouding the islands in a dense, ghostly veil and reducing visibility to near zero. This phenomenon is especially common in late spring and early summer, when warm air meets the cold sea. The wind is the most persistent force, often reaching gale strength. It sculpts the landscape, bending grasses and shaping the contours of the hills. In winter, fierce storms can bring hurricane-force gusts, lashing the islands with salt spray and hail. Over centuries, the relentless wind has carved unique rock formations and exposed ridges, while wind-driven waves relentlessly erode the coastline, creating dramatic sea stacks and arches. The islands experience pronounced seasonal changes. Winters are dark, wet and stormy, with only a few hours of daylight, while summers bring long, lingering twilight and bursts of vibrant green as the land awakens. In winter, snow occasionally dusts the peaks and frost etches delicate patterns on the grass, though the ocean's moderating influence keeps temperatures relatively mild compared to other northern latitudes. The surrounding ocean is in constant motion. Powerful currents swirl around the islands, driving nutrient-rich waters to the surface and fueling a vibrant marine ecosystem. Seasonal upwellings trigger explosions of plankton, which in turn support vast shoals of fish, seabirds, and marine mammals. Kelp forests sway in the currents, providing shelter for countless species. The productivity of these waters is legendary, making the Faroe Islands a vital hub for North Atlantic marine life, especially during the spring and summer when the food web is at its most active. But the same currents that bring life can also bring danger. Treacherous eddies and unpredictable waves make navigation hazardous, especially during storms or when tidal flows surge through narrow channels. Tidal races and whirlpools are common, particularly in the sounds that separate the islands. These powerful flows can change direction rapidly, demanding respect and caution. Fog is a defining feature year-round, but especially prevalent in late spring and early autumn. It can linger for days, muffling sound and transforming the landscape into a realm of mystery and silence. Meteorologists distinguish between sea fog, hill fog, and freezing fog, each with its own unique formation and impact. Freezing fog can coat surfaces in rime ice, creating a glittering, otherworldly scene. Low clouds often race across the summits, sometimes descending to envelop entire villages and valleys, blurring the boundary between sea and sky. In the Faroe Islands, the weather is a living, breathing entity, an ever-changing force that sculpts the land, nourishes the sea, and commands awe and respect from all who witness its power. The towering cliffs and nutrient-rich waters of the Faroe Islands create a haven for seabirds, forming one of the most vital sanctuaries in the North Atlantic. These remote, wind-battered cliffs, free from land predators, provide ideal nesting grounds for millions of seabirds each year. The diversity of species is remarkable. From the ledges and crevices, colonies of puffins, fulmars, guillemots, razorbills, and kittiwakes thrive, each adapted to the unique challenges of cliffside life. In the height of summer, the cliffs come alive with the calls and movements of these birds. Puffins, with their vivid beaks, nest alongside the sleek guillemots and the agile razorbills, while fulmars glide effortlessly on the updrafts. Kittiwakes, a delicate gull species, cluster in vast numbers, their nests packed tightly on narrow ledges, forming dense, bustling colonies. The air is thick with the sound of wings and the constant chatter of thousands of birds, transforming the once silent cliffs into vibrant centers of avian life. This congregation is not only visually spectacular, but also ecologically significant, representing one of the largest gatherings of seabirds in the region. The surrounding ocean, teeming with fish and plankton, sustains these immense colonies, highlighting the productivity of these northern waters. Among the most iconic residents is the Atlantic puffin. Puffins are instantly recognizable by their colorful beaks and expressive faces. They nest in burrows dug into the soft, grassy cliff tops, often forming dense, interconnected communities. Each pair excavates a tunnel where a single egg is laid, and both parents share the duties of incubation and feeding. These colonies perch high above the ocean, safe from most terrestrial threats, but exposed to the elements. Daily, puffins embark on foraging flights, sometimes traveling dozens of kilometers to find small fish, such as sand eels. They return with beaks brimming with prey, feeding their single chick, known as a puffling, until it is ready to fledge. At dusk, the sky fills with thousands of puffins returning to their burrows, a synchronized spectacle of nature. The sight of these birds silhouetted against the northern twilight is a breathtaking reminder of the abundance of life these islands support. Their black and white forms dart and swirl in the fading light, a living mosaic above the sea. Other species have evolved unique nesting strategies to thrive on these vertical landscapes. The northern gannet, the largest seabird in Europe, is a master of the open air. Gannets form dense colonies on exposed sea stacks and rocky outcrops, their nests built from seaweed and grass. Their long, powerful wings allow them to soar effortlessly in strong winds, diving with precision to catch fish far offshore. Kittiwakes, meanwhile, are specialists in nesting on the narrowest of cliff ledges, often just wide enough for a single nest. Their nests, constructed from mud, grass and seaweed, cling precariously to the vertical rock faces. This adaptation allows them to exploit nesting sites inaccessible to most other birds, reducing competition and predation. The storm petrel, a small nocturnal seabird, is another remarkable resident. These elusive birds spend most of their lives at sea, returning to land only to breed. At night, they emerge from burrows hidden among rocks, minimizing the risk of predation. Storm petrels possess an extraordinary sense of smell, which they use to navigate vast distances across the ocean and locate their nesting sites. They follow faint scents carried by the wind, sometimes traveling hundreds of kilometers to return to their burrows. The ecological significance of these seabird colonies cannot be overstated. Seabirds play a crucial role in nutrient cycling, as their guano enriches the thin soils of the cliffs, supporting unique plant communities. This fertilization effect promotes the growth of wildflowers and attracts insects, further enhancing the biodiversity of the islands. The presence of large seabird populations also indicates healthy marine ecosystems, as these birds rely on abundant fish stocks and clean waters. The intricate web of interactions between birds, fish, plants, and the sea makes these sanctuaries vital for the overall health of the North Atlantic environment. The seabird colonies of the Faroe Islands stand as a living testament to the resilience and richness of nature in this remote corner of the world. Each year, their return marks the renewal of life, a signal of the enduring bounty of the ocean and the delicate balance that sustains it. The Faroe Islands remain a sanctuary where seabirds continue to flourish, their presence a celebration of the wild, interconnected world they inhabit. The Faroe Islands have always been a place where the elements dictate every aspect of life. When the first settlers arrived, Irish monks followed by Norse Vikings, they encountered a land sculpted by wind, rain, and relentless ocean swells. Here, survival meant adapting to the raw power of nature, and over centuries, this necessity shaped every detail of Faroese culture. The architecture of the islands is a direct response to the climate. Traditional turf roof houses, with their thick grass-covered tops, insulate against biting winds and heavy rains. The walls, built from local stone and driftwood, stand firm against the Atlantic gales, their weathered surfaces bearing silent witness to centuries of storms. Villages are nestled in sheltered valleys or perched on rocky outcrops, always oriented to maximize protection from the wind. Stone fences snake across the hillsides, marking boundaries and guiding sheep, while ancient boathouses line the shore, their doors facing away from the prevailing storms. The sea is ever present, its moods reflected in the artifacts left behind. Weathered fishing nets, hand-carved wooden floats, and stone anchors are found along the docks, each object a testament to the ingenuity required to harvest the ocean's bounty. Specialized landing sites, known as farstøðir, are carefully chosen for their natural protection. Stone ramps lead down to the water, worn smooth by generations of boats, while small wooden sheds store oars, sails, and tools, each item crafted to withstand salt, wind, and time. The art of boat building is visible in the elegant lines of traditional Faroes rowboats, their hulls designed to cut through churning waves. These vessels, often painted in deep reds and blues, rest on rocky shores, their forms echoing the curves of the islands themselves. In harbours, the old and new coexist. Modern fishing trawlers moored beside ancient wooden boats, both essential to the island's lifeblood. The fish market, bustling with the day's catch, is surrounded by storied warehouses, their timbers darkened by salt and age. Even the rhythm of daily life is marked by the ocean. Smoke houses with their blackened chimneys cure fish and lamb using age-old methods, their scents mingling with the ever-present sea air. Inside, tables are set with hand-carved wooden bowls and utensils, each piece shaped by local hands and local wood. The Faroes' language itself is etched into the landscape, place names carved into wooden signposts, each one describing the wind, the fog, or the shape of a hill. This vocabulary is not just poetic. It is a practical guide for navigating a world where the weather can change in an instant. The landscape is mapped in words as much as in stone. Every inlet, sea stack, and tidal pool has its own name, reflecting a culture that observes and records every nuance of its environment. Light itself is catalogued in the language. There are words for the golden glow before a storm, the silver mist that rolls over the hills, and the deep blue shadows cast by the cliffs at dusk. Artifacts of tradition are everywhere, intricately carved sheep horns, weathered navigation stones, and ancient maps drawn on animal skin. These objects, preserved in homes and museums, tell the story of a people who learned to read the land and sea as if they were living texts. Nowhere is this history more tangible than in Tórshavn. The capital's narrow peninsula, Tinganes, is crowned with red wooden buildings and turf roofs, their foundations resting on ancient stone. These structures have sheltered generations of leaders, their walls absorbing the stories of 1,000 years. The ancient parliamentary building, with its flag fluttering in the wind, stands as one of the world's oldest sites of governance still in use. Its timbers and stones are marked by the passage of time, a living monument to resilience. Walking through Tinganes' cobbled lanes, the architecture tells its own story. Each building, each stone, a chapter in the ongoing saga of adaptation and endurance. The Faroe Islands' culture is a living archive, shaped by wind, water, and stone. Its traditions, architecture, and artifacts are not relics of the past, but enduring responses to a landscape that demands respect, ingenuity, and a deep sense of belonging. In a landscape sculpted by wind, water, and time, the Faroe Islands rise from the North Atlantic like the bones of ancient giants, each peak and precipice steeped in legend and mystery. Here, every cliff, sea stack, and waterfall is more than a geological marvel. It is a chapter in a living mythos where the boundaries between the natural and the supernatural blur. Scattered across the isles, ancient cairns and enigmatic standing stones mark the land, silent sentinels, whose origins are lost to time, believed by some to be the work of giants or the remnants of vanished civilizations. These monuments, shrouded in mist and legend, are said to be places where the veil between worlds is thin, where ancient spirits linger and the echoes of old magic can still be felt. The land itself becomes a storyteller, transforming basalt and stone into characters, each formation a relic of mythic battles, lost loves, or curses cast in ages past. In the shifting mists, the rocks seem to breathe, their contours shaped by the memory of ancient beings, giants, witches, and kings whose stories are etched into the very landscape. Some sea stacks stand like petrified sentinels, their forms echoing the silhouettes of legendary figures, giants frozen in mid-stride, witches caught in the act of casting spells. Among the most iconic are Risin or G. Kellingin, the giant, and the witch, whose tale is woven into the very identity of the northern coast. These towering pillars of stone, battered by centuries of wind and sea, are said to be the petrified forms of a giant and a witch from distant Iceland. They stand guard off Eysturoy, their presence a constant reminder of the ancient struggle between the forces of nature and the ambitions of mythical beings. Legend tells of their envy for the Faroes' wild beauty and their fateful attempt to drag the islands back across the storm-lashed sea to Iceland. Under the cover of darkness, they toiled, their immense strength pitted against the stubborn land and the relentless tides. But the islands resisted, anchored by ancient magic and the will of the land itself. As the night waned, the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, catching the intruders unaware. The sun's rays, imbued with ancient power, turned them instantly to stone, forever fixing their forms in the cold embrace of the sea. Now the witch gazes eternally back toward Iceland, her longing and defeat etched into the rock, while the giant stands resolute beside her. Their story is whispered by the wind and echoed in the crash of the waves, a warning and a wonder immortalized in stone. The legend endures as enduring as the rocks themselves, shaping the spirit of the land. The witch's stony gaze forever fixed on the distant homeland she could never reach, ever. Another monument of myth is Trollkonufingr, the witch's finger, a solitary spire thrusting skyward from the wild coast of Vaga. This slender, 313-meter-high monolith pierces the sky, its silhouette a stark exclamation against the ever-changing weather. Folklore claims it is the petrified finger of a witch, caught mid-incantation as she tried to cast a spell over the islands. Like the giant and the witch, she was ensnared by the dawn, her power broken, and her form immortalized in stone. The rising sun sealed her fate, leaving only her accusatory finger to pierce the sky, a warning to all who would challenge the ancient forces of the Isles. The finger remains solitary and defiant, a testament to the enduring power of myth. Geologically, Trollkonufingr's remarkable stability is owed to the interlocking columns of basalt formed by ancient volcanic forces. Yet in the imagination of the islanders, it is a permanent warning from the world of folklore, a bridge between the tangible and the mystical. Its silhouette looms on the horizon, a powerful and eerie presence that stirs the imagination and commands respect. At dusk, its shadow stretches across the land, merging myth and reality in the gathering gloom. Even the waterfalls are steeped in legend. Fossa, the tallest and most powerful cascade in the Faroes, is said to be the dwelling place of elusive spirits and water-dwelling creatures. Its thundering waters, plunging over ancient rock, are believed to carry the voices of these beings, echoes of laughter, song, and warning. The mist that rises from the falls is said to be the breath of the hidden folk, drifting across the land and vanishing with the wind. The roar of the water is their song, a reminder of the unseen forces that shape the islands. Across the isles, ancient stone circles and rune stones stand as cryptic monuments, their meanings obscured by centuries, but their presence undeniable. These relics of a distant past are believed to be sites of ritual and reverence, where the old gods were honored and the cycles of nature observed. The land is alive with stories, each stone, each stream, each shadow a thread in the intricate tapestry of Faroe's myth. The islands breathe with the memory of ancient tales, their landscapes shaped as much by legend as by the relentless forces of nature. To journey through the Faroe Islands is to wander through a living storybook, where every vista is a portal to another world. Each secret cove and shadowed glen conceals a legend, waiting to be discovered by those who listen to the whispers of the wind. In the Faroe Islands, every stone is a storyteller, every monument a memory, woven together in a landscape where myth and reality are forever entwined. The Faroe Islands are a living gallery of natural hydrological wonders, where water sculpts the land into forms found nowhere else on Earth. Here, the interplay between relentless Atlantic weather and ancient volcanic rock has given rise to a landscape defined by its waterfalls and lakes. each a testament to the island's unique geological history and environmental dynamics. Múlafossur waterfall, perhaps the most iconic of all, is a prime example of fluvial processes at work in a maritime climate. Fed by persistent rainfall and mountain streams, its waters gather from a high plateau, carving a narrow channel through basalt before plunging nearly 60 meters in a single, uninterrupted drop. Unlike most waterfalls, Múlafossur bypasses the formation of a plunge pool, instead emptying directly into the turbulent Atlantic, where freshwater and saltwater meet in a constant, swirling exchange. The hydrology of these waterfalls is shaped by the island's high precipitation rates, steep gradients, and impermeable volcanic bedrock. Watercourses are short and fast, with little time to meander, resulting in dramatic vertical drops and a rapid transfer of energy from land to sea. This constant movement of water erodes the cliffs, transports sediment, and creates microhabitats for mosses, ferns, and rare invertebrates that thrive in the perpetual mist. Not far from these plunging falls lies Sørvágsvatn, the largest lake in the Faroe Islands and a marvel of geomorphology. This freshwater body is perched atop a coastal plateau, its basin formed by glacial and volcanic activity over millennia. The lake's unique topography, with steep cliffs dropping abruptly to the ocean below, creates the world-famous optical illusion. From certain vantage points, Sørvágsvatn appears to float impossibly high above the Atlantic, defying gravity and logic. The hydrological cycle here is a delicate balance. Rainfall and runoff feed the lake, while a narrow outflow at its southern end forms the Múlafossur waterfall, which channels the entire lake's discharge over a sheer cliff and into the ocean. This outflow regulates the lake's level, preventing flooding and maintaining the fragile equilibrium between land and sea. The environmental impact of these features is profound. Waterfalls oxygenate streams, support unique plant communities, and provide critical breeding grounds for birds and aquatic life. The lakes, meanwhile, act as natural reservoirs, moderating the flow of water to the sea and supporting a mosaic of wetland habitats along their margins. The constant interaction between freshwater and saltwater at the base of these falls creates brackish zones rich in nutrients, sustaining a diversity of marine organisms. The formation of these hydrological features is ongoing. Erosion, landslides, and the relentless action of water continue to reshape the cliffs and valleys, creating new cascades and altering the course of streams. Over time, lakes may breach their natural barriers, carving new outlets and giving rise to additional waterfalls, while existing falls may retreat inland as the cliffs are worn away. The Faroe Islands' waterfalls and floating lakes are not static monuments, but dynamic systems, constantly evolving, shaped by the forces of water, wind, and time. Their presence is a reminder of the island's raw, elemental nature and of the intricate connections between geology, climate, and life. In this remote archipelago, every drop of water tells a story of ancient glaciers, volcanic upheaval, and the ceaseless power of the North Atlantic. The waterfalls and lakes of the Faroes are living laboratories, offering a window into the processes that shape our planet and sustain its wildest places. To witness these features in their full, unfiltered realism is to experience the Faroe Islands as they truly are. A realm where water reigns supreme, sculpting the land into forms both fleeting and eternal, and where the environment is shaped moment by moment by the elemental dance of earth and sea. The Faroe Islands rise from the North Atlantic as a living testament to the profound harmony that can exist between land and sea, wind and stone, water and sky. Here, the boundaries between the elements are blurred, and the landscape itself seems to breathe with a quiet, ancient rhythm. In this remote archipelago, the land is shaped by relentless forces, glaciers that once carved deep valleys, winds that sweep across the moors, and rain that nourishes the emerald grasslands. The islands tell a story of coexistence, where every cliff, every stream, and every moss-covered stone is a chapter in the ongoing dialogue between Earth and nature. The valleys are sculpted by time, their contours softened by centuries of wind and rain. Wildflowers cling to the rocks, their roots finding purchase in the thinnest of soils, while waterfalls tumble from high cliffs, feeding crystal-clear streams that weave through the land. Water is a constant companion here, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce. It carves deep gorges, nourishes the moss and heather, and shapes the very character of the islands. The waterfalls, ever changing with the weather, are both sculptors and lifeblood, sustaining a delicate balance within the ecosystem. The cliffs and hills are alive with wildlife. Seabirds nest in the crags, their calls echoing across the wind. Puffins, with their bright beaks, return each year to raise their young, while fulmars and guillemots ride the updrafts, perfectly attuned to the rhythms of the air and sea. Along the shorelines, seals bask on sun-warmed rocks, and otters slip through the kelp forests, their movements a quiet testament to the abundance and health of these waters. The ocean, ever present and ever changing, is both a barrier and a bridge, connecting the islands to the wider world, while nurturing a unique web of life. The weather is a force of its own, unpredictable, dramatic, and deeply influential. Fog drifts over the ridges, sunlight breaks through in sudden golden shafts, and rain sweeps across the moors, transforming the landscape in moments. Each shift in the weather brings new life, new colors, and new stories to the land. The sea stacks, shrouded in mist, stand as silent sentinels, witnesses to the passage of time and the enduring power of the elements. Moss and lichen cover the volcanic rocks, creating intricate patterns that speak to the slow, patient work of nature. In the tidal pools, a miniature world thrives. Starfish, anemones, and tiny fish find shelter among the rocks, each playing a role in the intricate balance that sustains the island's natural wealth. Even as the world changes, the Faroe Islands remain a place where natural forces are respected and harnessed with care. The wind, once a challenge, now turns turbines that provide clean energy, while the grasses and wildflowers continue their ancient cycles undisturbed. As the sun sets over the fjords, the islands are bathed in golden light, and the harmony between land, sea, and sky becomes almost tangible. This is a place where the natural world is not merely a backdrop, but the very heart of existence. Every detail, from the dew on the moss to the dragonflies hovering above a stream, is a reminder of the interconnectedness that defines these islands. The balance here is delicate, maintained by countless small interactions and cycles that have evolved over millennia. The future will bring storms and calm, change and continuity. Yet the enduring harmony of the Faroe Islands, rooted in the land, the sea and the sky, offers a powerful lesson in resilience and respect for the natural world. Here, on these green isles in the heart of the ocean, the timeless dance of nature continues, unbroken, breathtaking, and profoundly real. Beneath the restless surface of the North Atlantic, an unseen realm thrives around the Faroe Islands. Here, sunlight filters through rolling waves, illuminating a landscape as dramatic and varied as the cliffs above. Rocky reefs and submerged volcanic formations create a labyrinth of crevices and overhangs, sheltering a vibrant community of marine life. Forests of swaying kelp anchor themselves to the seabed, their fronds reaching upward in search of light. These underwater canopies are nurseries for countless species. Tiny fish dart between the leaves, while crabs and sea urchins forage along the rocky floor. Soft corals, in hues of orange and pink, cling to the rocks, providing refuge for shrimp, anemones, and the elusive wolf fish. In the open water, schools of herring and mackerel flash silver as they move in synchronized patterns, pursued by sleek seals and the occasional porpoise. The currents carry nutrients from the deep, sustaining plankton blooms that form the foundation of a complex food web. Jellyfish drift silently by, their translucent forms pulsing with the tide. Predatory cod and haddock patrol the deeper channels, while flatfish blend seamlessly with the sandy bottom, invisible to all but the most attentive eye. Starfish and brittle stars glide across the substrate, scavenging for food and playing their part in the ecosystem's delicate balance. Every interaction beneath the waves is part of a larger story, a continuous exchange of energy and life. From microscopic algae to powerful marine mammals, each organism is both a participant and a beneficiary in this intricate underwater tapestry. Even the tides, driven by the pull of distant moons, shape the rhythms of life, dictating when creatures feed, spawn, or seek shelter. In this hidden world, the Faroe Islands reveal another facet of their enduring harmony. The marine ecosystems, shaped by ancient geological forces and the ceaseless motion of the sea, are vital, resilient, and endlessly complex, a testament to the richness that lies just beyond the reach of the sun. Above the wind-battered cliffs and rolling green hills, the Faroe Islands' skies are a restless canvas, painted by some of nature's rarest and most mesmerizing weather phenomena. Here, the boundaries between sea, land, and air blur beneath shifting veils of mist and light. On many mornings, dense fog banks roll in from the Atlantic, their cool fingers weaving silently through valleys and across the ocean's surface. These fogs form when moist, warm air from the Gulf Stream meets the island's cold coastal waters, causing water vapor to condense into a thick, pearly shroud. For hours, entire villages may vanish from sight, their outlines softened until only the call of seabirds hints at what lies beyond. As day turns to night, the skies often transform again. On clear winter evenings, the aurora borealis, known locally as Nordli Sid, paints the darkness with ribbons of green, violet, and red. These ethereal lights are born from solar winds. Charged particles from the sun collide with Earth's magnetic field, releasing energy as shimmering curtains that ripple above the island's peaks. It is a silent spectacle, fleeting and unpredictable, but unforgettable for those who witness it. The Faroe Islands are also home to rare atmospheric events. On occasion, lenticular clouds stack above the mountains like otherworldly discs, sculpted by strong winds forced upward along the rugged terrain. In summer, halos and sundogs, rainbow-like rings and spots, encircle the sun, created as sunlight refracts through high-altitude ice crystals suspended in the frigid air. Rainbows are frequent, often double, arching boldly from fjord to fjord after sudden passing showers. And sometimes, when warm air overlays cooler layers near the sea, the islands experience the elusive phenomenon of a fata morgana, a mirage that distorts distant ships and cliffs, making them appear to float or twist in impossible shapes above the horizon. These ever-changing displays are not just beautiful, they are windows into the island's unique climate, shaped by their isolated position between ocean currents and Arctic winds. Each phenomenon, from the thickest fog to the brightest aurora, is a reminder of the Faroe Islands' place at the intersection of earth, sea, and sky, a realm where the weather itself becomes part of the landscape's enduring mystery. Long before the first seabirds soared above the cliffs, the Faroe Islands were forged in the heart of immense geological forces. Their story began over 55 million years ago, deep within the restless seams of the Earth's crust. Here, at the edge of the North Atlantic, colossal tectonic plates drifted and collided, birthing a chain of volcanic eruptions that would eventually give rise to these islands. Layer upon layer of basaltic lava flowed and cooled, each eruption adding a new stratum to the growing landmass. Over millions of years, these volcanic foundations were sculpted by relentless erosion. Ancient rivers carved valleys through the hardened rock, while glaciers ground down peaks, leaving behind the dramatic cliffs and fjords that define the islands today. In between the thick basalt layers, geologists have discovered thin seams of sediment, evidence of ancient lakes and forests that once thrived in quieter intervals between eruptions. These sedimentary layers act as time capsules, preserving traces of prehistoric plants and, in rare cases, impressions of insects and pollen. The island's fossil record, though modest, offers glimpses into a world transformed by time. Leaf imprints and microscopic spores found in sediment beds speak of temperate forests that once blanketed the volcanic slopes, while the absence of large animal fossils hints at the island's isolation from continental life. As tectonic forces continued to shift, the land slowly rose and fractured, shaping the rugged archipelago seen today. Every cliff face and moss-covered outcrop is a chapter in this geological saga. The Faroe Islands are more than just a surface shaped by wind and water. They are ancient chronicles written in stone, revealing a dynamic history that stretches far beyond human memory into the very origins of land and life itself. Blanketing the ancient basalt, a living tapestry of green unfurls across the Faroe Islands. Here, in the cool, damp climate, life clings tenaciously to every surface. The island's flora is subtle but resilient, a mosaic of mosses, lichens, and rare Arctic alpine plants uniquely adapted to the harsh North Atlantic environment. Low-growing heathers and crowberries form dense mats across moorland slopes, their wiry stems weaving through the rocky soil. In sheltered valleys, the delicate star-shaped blooms of the marsh violet appear briefly in late spring, while the elusive moonwort fern unfurls its curled fronds in quiet, undisturbed meadows. On exposed cliffs, the sea pink or thrift paints the rocks in soft pinks, its roots anchoring deep into crevices where few other plants can survive. Mosses thrive in the persistent mist, carpeting stones and peat in plush emerald layers. The rare golden bog moss glimmers in hidden wetlands, filtering water and creating miniature ecosystems for insects and amphibians. Lichens, ancient symbiotic unions of fungi and algae, cling to wind-scoured boulders and even the bones of old driftwood, their crusty forms surviving where neither partner could alone. Some, like the bright orange xanthoria, thrive on salty spray, while others form ghostly pale patches on shaded rocks, slowly breaking down stone into soil. These plants are more than survivors. They are ecological pioneers. Their roots stabilize thin soils, their leaves capture moisture from the fog, and their presence provides shelter and food for the island's insects and nesting birds. By converting bare rock into fertile ground, they pave the way for more complex plant communities in the centuries to come. In this wind-swept archipelago, the flora may seem modest, but every moss, every lichen, every rare flower plays a vital role in sustaining life. Together they weave a living legacy atop the ancient stone, quietly shaping the Faroe Islands' wild and enduring beauty. Rising abruptly from the restless Atlantic, the coastal cliffs of the Faroe Islands stand as towering sentinels, nature's own monuments sculpted by time and tide. These vertical walls of basalt, some plunging over 700 feet into the sea, are among the highest in Europe. Their sheer faces are a testament to the island's volcanic origins, shaped over millennia by the relentless forces of wind, rain, and crashing waves. At their base, the ocean carves deep caves and arches, the constant battering eroding softer layers and leaving behind dramatic overhangs and rugged terraces. Above, narrow ledges and jagged crests are crowned by tufts of hardy grass, sometimes dusted with mist from the spray below. Isolated sea stacks, tall, pillar-like remnants of ancient headlands, rise from the surf like silent guardians, their forms ever-changing as the sea slowly whittles away their foundations. These cliffs are alive with movement and sound. Thousands of seabirds find sanctuary here. Fulmars ride the updrafts, guillemots and razorbills crowd the narrow ledges, and puffins return each spring to nest in burrows high above the waves. The echoing calls of colonies drift across the wind, a chorus that has filled these heights for centuries. Beneath the surface, the cliff's submerged roots provide shelter for marine life. Kelp forests sway in the currents, while seals and porpoises hunt in the shadowy waters. On stormy days, waves explode against the rocks in bursts of white spray, reshaping the coastline pebble by pebble, carving new fissures and caves. Here, the drama of geology and the tenacity of life are in constant interplay. Each cliff and sea stack is a living record of the island's past, and a haven for creatures adapted to the edge of the world. In the Faroe Islands, the boundary between land and sea is not a line, but a wild, ever-changing frontier, where stone, water and wind converge in a spectacle of raw, enduring beauty. Hidden within the folds of the Faroe Islands' rugged terrain, a delicate network of freshwater veins brings life to the land. From the highest moorlands, rainwater and melting mist collect in shallow depressions, forming countless streams that tumble down mossy hillsides. These streams gather momentum, carving narrow channels through peat and basalt, their clear waters weaving across valleys and slipping silently beneath the shadow of cliffs. Some streams swell into rivers, short-lived, swift and restless, shaped by the island's steep gradients and frequent rainfall. They twist and turn, sometimes plunging over rocky ledges as waterfalls, sometimes fanning out into tranquil pools. Along their courses, the rivers transport nutrients from upland soils to the lowlands and out to the sea, sustaining a mosaic of habitats along the way. Lakes, both natural and man-made, dot the landscape, reflecting shifting skies in their glassy surfaces. Many owe their origins to glacial activity, their basins carved during the last ice age and now filled with pure cold water. These lakes act as reservoirs, regulating water flow and supporting communities of aquatic plants and invertebrates. In their shallows, sedges and reeds provide shelter for insects and breeding grounds for birds. Trout and salmon, adapted to the island's cool waters, find refuge in the deeper pools. Together, these freshwater systems are the silent architects of the Faroes' ecosystem. They sustain lush pockets of vegetation in an otherwise wind-swept landscape, nourish the peat bogs that store carbon, and offer sanctuary to myriad forms of life. Where rivers meet the sea, their mingling currents create fertile estuaries, transitional zones vital for young fish, birds, and marine mammals. In the Faroe Islands, water is never far from view, shaping the land, nurturing its living tapestry, and linking every corner of the archipelago in a cycle as ancient as the islands themselves. Across the Faroe Islands, the rhythm of the seasons orchestrates a profound transformation, one that touches every ridge, valley, and shoreline. Winter descends with force, cloaking the islands in a shroud of mist and rain. Fierce Atlantic storms batter the cliffs, their waves thundering against basalt walls and sending salt spray far inland. Rivers swell with runoff, racing through the countryside, while lakes brim with cold, dark water. The land appears subdued, its grasses dulled, and its hillsides veiled in a palette of greys and greens. Seabirds retreat from the cliffs, and the island's wildlife hunkers down, weathering the long, restless nights. But as winter wanes, subtle changes stir the landscape. The days lengthen, and the relentless winds soften. Mosses and grasses awaken, painting the hills with fresh shades of emerald. Streams run clearer, their banks edged with the first wildflowers of spring. Migratory birds return, filling the air with their calls as they reclaim nesting sites on steep bluffs and grassy slopes. By midsummer, the transformation is complete. The islands burst into bloom, with wild angelica, buttercups, and heather carpeting the meadows. The cliffs echo with the cries of puffins, guillemots, and kittiwakes, while the moors buzz with insects and the air shimmers with the movement of life. Lakes and rivers reflect the endless daylight, their surfaces alive with the activity of breeding birds and darting fish. As autumn approaches, a golden light settles over the archipelago. Grasses turn amber and russet, and berries ripen among the heather. The pace of life slows, and the islands prepare once more for the return of winter's storms. Through these cycles, the Faroe Islands are continually reshaped, each season sculpting the land anew and guiding the ebb and flow of wildlife. In this ever-shifting world, change is not just a backdrop, but the very essence of life.